Where is Jake? That's the question.
This is a painting of my backyard in San Sebastian, Spain. I'm kidding. I don't have
It's
a
a
house
joke.
in San Sebastian, Spain. I've never been there, actually.
It's a great painting, though. It looks good. Good morning. I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Friday, August 1st, 2025, TGIF. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, Dems support grows to block arms sales to Israel. Number two, Republicans are cool to Trump's idea for tariff rebate checks. And number three, GOP super PACs outraise Democrats. All right, Jake, let's get into it. The top story of the morning in Punchbowl News AM is a really interesting look at the shift among Democrats to oppose arms sales to Israel. This is something that was more of a fringe, real liberal, Bernie Sanders, Peter Walsh kind of support. But now you've seen a growing number of Democrats uncomfortable with what's happening in Gaza and being much more open and supportive of the idea to potentially block sale of munitions and other arms to Israel, a longtime ally of the U.S.
Yes, well, I should address the monkey in the room, which is I'm in a different location this morning. I'm still in my house.
Where is Jake? That's the question.
This is a painting of my backyard in San Sebastian, Spain. I'm kidding. I don't have a house in San Sebastian, Spain. I've never been there, actually. But
it's a great painting, though. It looks good.
It's nice. I know it's distracting, but that's just my life this morning. So this was once an unthinkable position both for Israel and for Democrats, because Israel has, for most of its history, enjoyed very, very broad and vibrant bipartisan support on Capitol Hill. But that is gone for the moment, and it ranges. Things are in a continuum here. It's people like Bernie Sanders who are saying, yes, we actually want to block arms from being shipped to Israel, to people who are saying, listen, we want to make a point that we disagree with the Netanyahu government. Benjamin Netanyahu has been in power for most of the last, without looking it up, I think he became prime minister in 99, but it might have been 96. Doesn't make a difference. For much of the last 20 or 30 years. And this is all about his prosecution of the war in Gaza, which has been raging since the October 7th attacks, in which 1,200 Israelis were killed and 200 or so were taken hostage. Most of the people who are saying this, to be clear, most of the Democrats who are voting no are saying, we want to support Israel, but we're not going to do so right now. I mean, Amy Klobuchar said it's important for people to speak out when they can, even if it's on a vote that's not going to make all the difference. And it doesn't mean I'm going to be a hard stop against aid for Israel in the future. If you look at polling, as Andrew points out in this great item, polling is slipping away from Israel in ways that should be alarming to the Netanyahu government. And I would say Netanyahu has, without a doubt, aligned himself with Republicans.
All Republicans voted against this measure. They were in lockstep here.
But listen, there's even in the House, there have been, and there's not an important number, but there are Republicans who are also becoming a little bit skeptical of Israel. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is on the fringe, there's no doubt about that, has become herself skeptical of Israel. So this is one of the more important foreign policy shifts in the last 10 or so years, that Israel is not, hard stop, not, Anna, a bipartisan issue as it has been for a long time. Doesn't mean it won't be in the future. Doesn't mean that the war in Gaza and the bad shameful humanitarian conditions in Gaza, which, by the way, this is not a simple issue, is the best way to say it, I think. And war is horrible. And I think everybody is seeing that in real time here. And America's in the middle of this. And there's no way for America, Anna, to not be in the middle of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think the item, I encourage folks to read it, because there's a lot of, I think, interesting and telling quotes here about Democrats who were first-time voters supporting this measure. and why they did, right? Including Senator John Ossoff, the vulnerable senator from Georgia. All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. A really interesting item here by Laura Weiss at how President Donald Trump is making a new pitch that there should be rebate checks to the American people with the incoming amount of money from tariffs. But that is falling on flat or deaf ears by not only Democrats, but Republicans are very wary of this.
Well, because the president has not said, I'm going to raise, and by the way, he has again changed the tariff climate this morning or last night for a whole host of countries, throwing once again the international trade order into flux. But that's because Donald Trump didn't say, I am raising tariffs to send checks to the American people. That was not the pitch here, Anna, as you remember.
Yeah, I missed that if it was. That was
Yeah.
not. It was about the debt and the deficit. And I mean, from Trump's perspective, the reordering of trade around the world.
Yes. Ron Johnson says, no, we're $37 trillion in debt. Rick Scott, an unflinching ally of the White House, said it's a great idea, but only once the budget is balanced. We got with $37 trillion to go. So it sounds like I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
There's only $37 trillion with a T. That's,
Steve Daines, another close White House ally, said, I'd like to see the increased tariffs applied toward reducing our debt. Listen, Josh Hawley immediately put his own bill out there. We reported this a couple weeks ago, sending rebate checks to the American people as soon as Trump said it. Anna, if you told me in 2010 that the Republican Party would be in favor of, and they're not clearly, but the leader of the party is, for sending checks to people essentially randomly, I would say you're crazy. But here we are.
The politics, though, Jake, of sending a check when they're going into midterm election, that the people can look and say, hey, Donald Trump, the president and Republicans feel my pain and are giving me some money. I can understand why that could be a potentially useful tool here.
Yes. And John Thune says, I don't think there's been a conversation around that just yet. So, so listen, I would be very surprised if this has any legs, Anna. But it's tough to see. Sometimes this is my issue. It's tough to see. It's tough to make hay or to analyze whether Trump is serious about something or whether he's just riffing. And I think here, I don't know, maybe he's serious, but I cannot see the White House spending any sort of political capital on trying to get these tariff checks through. I don't see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see that happening.
He floats things, and then oftentimes, it becomes a larger part of the platform. So,
but Anna, he said he's going to balance the budget anyway, so maybe this will come sooner than we think.
There you go. All right. Let's go to the number 3 story of the morning. Republican super PACs outraise Democrats. This is a big storyline here because money is going to be key in the midterm election. The main House and Senate Republican super PACs both outraised their Democratic counterparts in the first 6 months of 2025. What do you make of this, Jake?
I make of it that this is the action, Anna. The action is not necessarily in the committee space, the NRCC trip space. It is in the super PAC space. And let's be clear here. These committees only report twice a year for the most part, unless there's a primary or general, in which case they have to report pre-primary, post-primary, post-general, whatever, all those things. So we don't get a view into these entities too often. CLF, the Republican super PAC, 32.7 million, 5 million from Elon Musk. HMP, the Democratic Leadership Aligned Group, raised 21.2 million, has 22 in the bank. SLF, 26 million, has 29 in the bank. SLF got $1 million from Warren Stevens, who's now ambassador to the United Kingdom. SMP raised 17.4 million and has 13.6 million on hand and 20 million in debt.
Yeah.
This is where the action is. This is where the big checks come from. Again, I've said this a million times. If you are a donor, you are not a donor, but if one is a donor.
I am not. Anna Palmer is not a donor. That is for sure.
Not a political donor, at least.
No, exactly.
Now, GW basketball, you could count me as a massive booster in the Jake Sherman Arena. Kidding. That also doesn't exist.
And first you got your house in San Tropez or wherever it is, and now you're...
Right. Okay, so like if you're a donor, you're going to give it, and you could give $900,000 to NRCC or the D-Trip, or
Sure.
you could give whatever you want to these entities, and they're both blessed by the leadership. You're going to give a bigger check if you are so inclined. let me say one other thing, Anna. MAGA Kentucky, KY, the Trump-backed super PAC targeting Tom Massey, raised $2 million, $1 million from Paul Singer of Elliott Management, $250,000 from John Paulson, finance hedge fund executive, and $750,000 from Miriam Adelson's PAC. Now, I tweeted this last night, and Elon Musk tweeted back at me saying, that's interesting. And I said, why? And he didn't tell me why. But
He wasn't going to give you the insights. But you appreciate the retweet?
He wasn't a retweet. It was a reply. I appreciate the engagement. Anna. So anyway.
There you go. Hey, I want to flag for everyone before we let you go. We have a big story for our tech policy subscribers. We've got some news here that big tech is trying to get China hawks on their side of the artificial intelligence and copyright law debate. Microsoft and Meta held 2 separate dinners this week focused on the issue with hawkish former Trump administration officials, economists, and think tankers. You can get more by subscribing to Punchbowl News policy tech coverage. Diego Munoz and Ben Brody doing just a terrific item here. Jake, encourage those interested to check it out. We're going to leave it there this morning. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, please share it on social media. Tell your friends. Subscribe on YouTube. It's the best way to watch us every morning, Monday through Friday. And as always, you can go deeper at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.